Hello, friends, and welcome back to the new episode of r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today we have one more collection of great news stories waiting for us, and the first of them. First mistake, red shirt at Target. I was in Target for the first time, and I was by myself, sort of just checking it out because we'd always been too thrifty to go to Target growing up. I was minding my own business, strolling the aisles with my basket of slightly overpriced herbal tea. I end up in this cool snack section where they had seaweed packets and tossed two in my basket when I realized there was a man, mid-30s, early 40s, that I've seen in the same aisles as me quite a few times. No big deal, just a coincidence, right? I peruse a couple more sections in the store and eventually end up passing the baby/kid section and see the same middle-aged guy sort of hanging back from me but still following me, more intent at this point. Getting a little nervous, but it's not like anything's gonna happen to me in Target. What's he gonna do, kidnap me in the middle of Target with hundreds of people in it? I keep going, and eventually I see the kitchenware section. I stop and look up at the signs to see where exactly I want to look around. Ah, there. I take a step forward, and just as I do it, the same man from earlier grabs me by my shirt collar and says, "Excuse me!" And without hesitation, I grab my side, deploy my knife, point it at him, and yell, "What the F do you think you're doing?" We're right outside an aisle, and there are people around who saw him grab me. He looks shocked, slack-jawed and everything. I repeat to him again, just as loud and just as expletive-filled, "Who the F do you think you are? Why are you following me? Why did you grab me?" He snaps out of it a bit and says, "Are employees even allowed to carry knives? What the hell are you doing? Where's your supervisor?" Now it's my turn to look dumbfounded. I said, "I'm not an employee. And even if I was, do you really just grab people wherever you go, especially younger women?" At this point, we've got a small crowd, and I feel safe enough to put my knife back in my pocket. He spits back, "Well, if you'd been paying any attention, you'd know that I've been around you this whole time trying to get your attention, but you keep walking off from me. Aren't you supposed to help people in the store?" Did you hear a word I said? I don't work here. He took a step forward to look down at me and started on about, "All you had to do was say so then. Instead, you pull a knife on me like some psycho bee." He then points out that I'm wearing a red shirt. I'm floored at this. I'm wearing a dark red and plaid long-sleeve harness crop top and black high-waisted jeans. What Target employee do you see wearing a plaid crop top? Finally, someone steps in to help. A tall, burly guy who looked like Duck Dynasty meets Sons of Anarchy. He gets in between us and pushes the guy back and tells him that's no way to speak to anyone and says, "I saw the whole thing. You grabbed her by the collar. She has every right to be defensive." At this, the creep backed off and Ducks of Anarchy, my hero, tells him to F off and fires off one last "crazy bee," but walks off towards the back of the store. I sincerely thanked Mr. Hero as I was truly grateful. Being a smaller person, even with a knife, you don't feel all that threatening. I took my crap straight to the checkout and left. Never in my life have I thought about grabbing a stranger, employee of a store or otherwise, to get their attention. I wouldn't even tap on their shoulder. If you just say, "Excuse me," or "Hey," you're likely to get the attention of everyone in the immediate area. Maybe I was just raised differently, but I feel like not grabbing strangers is a pretty obvious social no-no. Lady mistakes me for employee and makes me come late back from break. Hey guys, I'm new here in Reddit and actually got it so I can post it here. I'm also from Germany and English is my second language, so sorry for any mistakes. This happened to me 2 days ago when I was working in a small store. I'm a part-time employee and usually work just 6 hours a day, so I don't have a break. It was a very busy day, and my team leader, I think you can call her a manager, asked me to stay 2 more hours. I said yes, and since it's more than 6 hours of work now, that means I get a 1-hour break. When my break began, I walked out of our store to get to the supermarket right next to us. It was a big one, with smaller stores inside, including a bakery. I don't know if this counts as a mall, but I just say supermarket. Usually I just go in and grab water and bread, but since I had a little more time, I decided to stroll around and look for mostly candies and other things I can waste my money on. I came across a very chaotic-looking shelf, and since I wanted something from that shelf, I tried my best to make it look normal again. And that's when it happened. A very loud ahem was heard from behind me, and I turned around only to see a lady who was around my height and more on the chubby side. Like almost everyone here, I moved to the side thinking she wanted something from the shelf. "No, come here," she said. And I looked at her, confused. "I need item I forgot. Right now." I don't think I have to mention that she was very rude. I just looked at her, shaking my head, and simply said, "Sorry, I don't know." I'm not a big talker, and when a stranger talks to me, I tend to stutter and trip over my words, so I tried to sound relaxed. I wanted to turn around and walk away, but the lady grabbed my arm. She was surprisingly strong. "You don't know? You work here. How can you not know where item is?" Yep, she started yelling at me. Now that made me tear up a bit, and I tried to free my arm, but it was no use. What I forgot to mention was I was wearing a tag from my store. It simply said, "Store name team will gladly help you out." My store, where I work, and the supermarket store have completely different names, obviously, and I pointed with my free hand at the tag. "Excuse me, but I don't work here. I'm on break, and I just wanted some snack." "I don't care. I need item. Now I have kids in the car and things that need to be in a fridge." The yelling attracted some other customers, and they started to watch. That's where I lost all strength to keep myself from crying, and the tears just started rolling down my cheeks. Gladly, a man around 50 came over and tried to calm the lady down, but it was also no use. My tears turned off, and I was now only focused on stopping crying. It got louder, and finally an employee of the supermarket came over and asked what was going on. I tried to explain, but my sobbing made it impossible to talk. The lady finally let go of my arm, which was now red, and walked over to the employee. "This girl was very rude to me. I just asked her where item was, and she told me to F off and flip me off." I still don't know why people like this lie. You don't gain anything from this. The employee looked at me and asked if I was okay. Technically I was, but I shook my head no, still sobbing and crying, which was very embarrassing. The man finally spoke up and told the employee what happened. Well, what he said and heard. Another employee came over and took me away, asked for my side of the story, and tried to calm me down. My break was now already 10 minutes over. I just wanted to get out and go home. After some time, I was now calm and tried to talk to the employee about stupid stuff to make me laugh, while the lady was still yelling and was now demanding for a manager. I always thought things like this only existed in America, but I guess I was wrong. The manager came over and asked what was wrong. After that, he went away. I assumed to check cameras, but I don't know. I looked at my watch, and I was now 1 hour late from break. I looked at the door, being kind of paranoid that my coworkers might walk in and search for me, and they actually did. They saw me and asked what happened. First, they were looking angry, but after seeing me with red puffy eyes and a still angry lady next to the other employee, my coworker finally figured out what had happened and went back to our store. The manager came back. "Sorry, lady, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I just checked the camera and asked other people, and it seems that you started this fight." The lady tried to bark at the manager, but he continued. "Those people told me how this fight started, and I have to tell you this. I, the manager, can guarantee you that this girl," pointing at me and my name tag, "doesn't work here. She seems to work at the store next to us." I just nodded, and he continued. The lady was now white instead of red and still tried to cause a scene. I got up and left my things in a basket and asked if I could leave now. The manager nodded while talking to the lady, so I walked out of the store. I told the team leader what happened and got the rest of the day off. I couldn't concentrate after this and went to grab my things, ready to leave, when I heard sirens. I walked out, and the next thing I saw was that the lady who yelled at me in the supermarket was now being escorted out by the police. They actually took her with them. I smiled a bit and went home. The next day, I went back to the supermarket and asked what happened. The lady became physical and punched the manager in the face. I saw him from a distance, and he actually had a black eye, and the police had to take her away. One of the lady's friends had to come pick up the kids that were in her car. Papers, please. For several years, I was a field scientist for an environmental company that was a contractor of one of the major oil corporations. The oil corporation was absolutely nuts about safety procedures, not out of desire to protect people, but to limit their legal liability. We were required to have government safety certification as well as corporate safety certification and be able to present this certification at any time. My company risked losing our contract with them if we did not adhere to the often absurd safety requirements. One day, I was scheduled to be on a particular job site, and word came down the chain of command that I was going to have a corporate safety manager visit me to observe me working. This wasn't any manager, though. He was a big shot that oversaw a 7-state area. He could cause major trouble if I deviated from the rules in the slightest. I was on site, and the manager shows up. I shake his hand and ask to see his safety certification cards before we continue. He pauses for a moment and starts rifling through his wallet. After a minute, he can only provide one of the 2 necessary safety cards. I inform him that I cannot allow him on site without proof of safety certification. He replies, "Hoisted by my own petard," turns on heel, and leaves. I finish up the job quickly and safely and return to the office. When I got back, everyone had already heard what happened, and my manager congratulated me on making the company look good for having the balls to kick one of their top managers of a multi-billion-dollar company off the job site. At least he didn't complain about you enforcing the rules. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.